is deeply personal that happened in my life. So I'm hoping that will help in the topics I'm talking about, and can't wait to share it with you guys.
We're looking
Thank you
forward
so
to it.
much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Brian. And on that note, I think we can start 4 minutes early. What do you think, guys? Hi, Simeon.
Sounds
Hey,
good.
everyone.
All right. Let's do this. So, welcome. We have Brian Moser from the United States. He is a father's advocate, and he's got some fantastic topics to share about just the impact of how being a great father can really help your kids through adversities and hardships, and just being a really good role model, leading by example for your children, and the difference that that can make. So, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us here today. I do deeply appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Alicia, first, I'd just like to start off by saying thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this. I'd like to say hi to all the guys on the panel here. It's really pretty exciting to see what, and you and me have talked a little bit before about this, but just how much work you put in as a woman to give a space for not for women to talk, but for men to talk, for to advocate for men. And I think that's incredible of you to do. I know that takes a lot of time and effort on your part. So me personally, I would like to thank you for doing that, because I think there are millions of fathers around the world that wish they had somebody that would advocate for them, that wish they had somebody that would stand up and say, you know what, hey, you like these guys maybe need a little bit of there's a few of them out there doing pretty good. So thank you for all that you do. I'm
Thank
very
you. I
happy,
really appreciate that.
very honored to be a part of this. And it's exciting to see how people are connecting. People like you are helping to connect other people. So that's incredible on your part. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much for sharing that with me, Brian. I deeply appreciate it. It is a lot of work, but it's being on the summit with all of the men from around the world and having them share their stories and connect with one another is such a privilege and an honor to get to experience, especially as a woman. It is well worth the time and effort I put forward to get to create it. So thanks.
Well,
So tell
also,
us a little bit. Go ahead.
I just want to say to you, I think this is incredible, again, what you're doing, because like you just said, around the world, we're not talking about a group of men at a local community center. We're not talking about a group of men sharing in their church or at a house. We're talking about a group of men around the world who are coming together to share their stories. And you start connecting dots, you and Calvin, and then Calvin and Manny, and then you just one by one, you just weave this web, and it's around the world. That's something, technology has given us a chance to actually use our voice and go around the world in a matter of seconds. Millions of people can hear your voice. So again, what you've done is you've given, the guys on this panel, the men around the world that are listening, even some of the women that might be listening, you've given us a chance to go around the world to touch other people. So that's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you, my friend. It is amazing, and I'm grateful technology allows us to do those things. I think that one of the most beautiful and interesting things that I've discovered over the last 4 years in doing these summits is that no matter where these men are from around the world, there's remarkable similarities into what men are struggling with, be it business, relationship, mental health, fatherhood. And I think it just really humanizes all of us, regardless of country of origin, the color of our skin, what we do for a living. We're just humans. So it's really nice to get to showcase that and see men from around the world supporting one another, regardless of it all.
Yeah. And like you said, it doesn't matter what race, religion, who you have been, who you're going to be. Men, just like women, we are all built from two things. We are built in here, and we are built in here. So it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside. If for those who don't know me, I'm 6'6", I'm 300 pounds. I was an amateur bodybuilder competitor and now a strongman. So I'm a very big, very strong man. But when you actually get to know me, everything about me has nothing to do with this appearance. It has everything to do with what's in here and what I've built in here.
100%.
So when we look at each other, we need to remember that everything here does not play a part with what's built in here.
Beautiful sentiment. But tell us more about your journey as a father, Brian.
Okay. So for those who don't know me, my name is Brian Moser. I am a loving husband, and I am an absolutely dedicated father. 6 years ago, my entire life changed. Before my daughter was born 6 years ago, I was a bit of a wild man. I love traveling. I love doing the, crazy, wild, fun party lifestyle. Um, I knew at some point that I wanted to be a dad, but just the way things were going, I just didn't see that anytime soon. I was, going out with my friends at night in my, early and late 20s. We go out, stay out late, and then I go home, go to sleep, and go to work. That was where my mind was at. And then as life progressed, I got the chance, the amazing blessing to become a dad to my wonderful little girl. And when that happened, everything changed. Everything about how I see the world, how I see myself, everything changed. It was eye opening, to say the least, when I started going out as a father, when I started taking my little daughter to daycare, when I started taking her to school, um, the way I was treated. And it, not all of it was bad, not all of it was great, but it was almost like at some points I was seen as invisible. Like when I would take my daughter to school, it was all the moms and all the women were, yay, we're all amazing. And then I'd walk in and they're like, we don't really care that a dad's here. And I'd start to notice little things. And this is, of course, not all women, just, just the few that I've come in contact with. But I started to see that I wasn't taken seriously as a father, and I wasn't taken seriously no matter where I went as a father. And that really started to get to me. So I started reaching out to other dads. I started reaching out to other men that I knew in my personal life and others around. And I noticed that everybody kind of had this similar experience of, we're not treated the same. And I started to wonder why. And it really got to a point of where I spent my days researching and looking and listening to everything around me. And it was about 2 years ago, I finally realized that, there's social media, there's all the places I go, there's all the things I do, there's all these people I talk to on a daily basis, but I'm not talking to any of them about the things that myself as a father going through or that any other fathers I know are going through. And it just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks one day. I told my wife, I said, I think I want to start talking about being a dad. I want to start talking about the things I'm going through and how being a dad has changed my life. And my wife, who's the most supportive, amazing, incredible person, was like, you absolutely should do that. I support you 100%. And it was like, boom, there goes the rocket. I'm off. From the moment I changed my platform on social media, on Instagram, it just took off. And it was like all of these dads were in the comment section and in direct messenger going, man, I can't thank you enough. Like this is changing my life. I can't believe somebody's actually standing up and saying the things you're saying. Because my wife will tell you I'm not really afraid to talk about anything. I don't hide. I'm not a shy person. I will talk to you in a supermarket. I will talk to you in the gym. And my wife is, kind of joked around, and she's very proud of who I am. She never
Beautiful.
asked me to hide. She is very proud of who I am, and she supports me. But she's like, we can't go anywhere without somebody stopping you. One, either because of your physique, and then two, we have to spend an extra 30 or 40 minutes wherever you go, because as soon as somebody asks you, you just go. And I'm like, I sometimes I can't stop. Especially when a dad wants to know something. Um, and it has just been incredible to see that using something like social media has helped so many people, even if it's in the smallest way. I have gotten messages from dads who are like, hey, man, I just want you to know, like, I love listening to your content. Like, thank you so much for sticking up to dads. To the very sad and very, very hard conversations of, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. Is there anything you can tell me that might change my mind? And it's, from the light side of the spectrum to the darkest side of the spectrum, sticking up for dads, it's just been life changing. It's been life changing. So when I got asked by Alicia here to be a part of this, I was like, I can't refuse this. Even if it reaches one more additional person, if it reaches one man or one woman who was like, you know what, I think I know somebody who might need to hear this. Everything about that is worth it to me, because I remember right after I changed my platform, um, somebody, I have no idea who this person was, but somebody posted a video on one platform, and it was a kid screaming because his dad had just taken his own life. And it broke me. And I was, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, I have to tell dads how important they are, because I can't watch another video like this. I can't see one more like this. And then when I started researching, it was god awful to know the numbers of
Three to six
how
times higher than women, depending upon the countries that statistics you're looking at,
yep,
than
and you
suicide.
beat me to it, but it just and I mean, here in the US, I think it's just over 80% of suicides, not just fathers, but men. It's men. So I'm like, they're really out here struggling. So every single time I get even the tiniest little message, whether it's I'm here, I don't know if I can take anymore, or if it's here like, hey man, I did one of the things you said, and like my life with my child has changed because of that. All of that, to reach out and to talk to men, is all of it's worth it, because our moms are so important to children, and our fathers are just as important to our children, and our children need us to be here. They need us to be present. They need us to give a they need our time, they need our energy, they need our effort, and they need our love. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this, because my daughter means more to me than anything. But I also care enough to know that every other father out there and every other mother out there, their child means that much to them too, for the ones that truly love their children.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all of that and for being here today.
Happy
So
to be
tell
there.
us, tell us a little bit more about your journey with like helping your child in regards to overcoming adversity and hardships.
So, if it's all right with you, I'm going to give you a personal story that is very deep to me, that I don't think I've shared with very many people, but I want as many people out there to know about it as possible, on how I built like my foundation of how to help my child overcome adversity and overcome hardships, because my father helped me overcome something that absolutely just rocked my world one day. So I'm trying to shorten this story because it could be very long if I don't. I was 21 years old. I had just gone over to have dinner with my mother, and my father was supposed to be there as well. It's going to be a little family dinner, just the three of us. And my parents live, I guess you can say, a little bit past the suburbs, not country, but countryside. And I had a wonderful dinner with my mother. My mother, if she sees this, is incredible. I want you to know that. But I had a wonderful dinner with my mom. And when I was leaving, I remember telling my mom, I'll let you know when I get home. Like, a lot of the times that I do. And I was traveling down a dark, unlit road. And as I'm driving down this road, not thinking of it, everyday thing, as I passed a mailbox, one of these big brick mailboxes, I saw a red shirt jump out. And a woman decided that night to take her life, and she used me and my truck to do it. Um, when that happened, obviously 21 years old, I'm panicked. I'm scared out of my mind. I think I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison, even though I didn't do anything wrong. I flagged down the first car that's coming down the road. I'm like, stop, stop, please, God, stop. And the first person coming down the road was my dad. My dad was the first person on the scene, and he jumped out, and it was, oh my God, what happened? What happened? And while I was panicked, while I was screaming in horror, my dad said, sit down, just stay here. I'll take care of this. He ran back. Unfortunately, very tragically, the woman did not make it. My father came back and said, I just want you to sit here. No matter what happens, I just want you to sit here. I'm here. I'm here for you. It was a very long night. I was I was questioned by any and every detective you can imagine. I was struggling just to keep my head up, because I thought of all the horrors that were going to happen. My dad stayed the whole time. And after a very long night, um, when we got back to my parents' house, I actually ended up spending hours in jail because of just unfortunately enough, a speeding ticket didn't get dismissed in court like they told me it did, and a warrant was issued from my arrest for not showing up for court, even though I was there, and I got arrested because of that. And after hours of sitting in a jail cell, being not guilty, they finally apologized to me and took me home. When I got home, it's almost like you could see the invisible track in the kitchen of my parents' house where my dad had been pacing back and forth. And as soon as I came in, he was beside himself. And I remember, and I can never forget this. My dad walks up and he puts his hands on my shoulders and he's rubbing my shoulders. And he said, I would give anything to go back in time and take this away from you. I would give anything to put it all on me. And it broke me. It broke me in the most beautiful way you could possibly imagine. And right before he gave me a hug, as he's rubbing my shoulders, he said, I helped make you. You are a part of me. No matter what you do, you will always be a part of me. And whatever you go through, I will go through too, because you are that part of me. And it changed everything. I I cried beyond any level that I think a man can possibly cry, and I did it with my dad. And my mom was there too, and she comforted me as much as possible. But there's something different about what a father does, what a father's love does when he puts his arms around you. And that's the topic I'm talking about. It's how a father's love can help you overcome adversity and hardships. To me, in my opinion, and I'm not taking away from the love of a mother in any way, shape, or form, because I love what mothers do and I love how mothers love their children, but a father's love is different. A mother's love, in my opinion, is a nurturing love. It is I will sit here and hold you, and I will cry with you, and I will stay here as long as I want, and we can cry together. And it's beautiful. It's a nurturing love. But a father's love, to me, in my opinion, is a love that wraps itself around you in this strong embrace and says, not only will I sit here with you, but I will do everything to push you through this. I will show you the way to get you through this. I will show you through my love, through my example, how to lead you out of darkness. And that night, that was one of the longest nights of my life. My dad showed me how to get through it. My dad showed me how, even in the darkest times, and I know there's been much worse things that have happened to other people. This is just my personal story. But my father showed me how to get through adversity and how to get through that hardship. From there, over the next weeks, days, weeks, months, my father would show me how to let out that hurt I was feeling, how to let out that as a growing young man, that aggression that I felt from why did this happen to me? I want to hate the world for what happened to me. He would show me through physical acts such as working out, boxing, things like that, how to let that aggression out, how to ease that tension and that stress. From there, my father also showed me the loving, compassionate side of a father's embrace, to where he would just take me out. He would take me out. We would go to a restaurant. We would go to a bar to grab a beer, and he would sit there and say, "Tell me how you're really doing." And he created this environment for me where it didn't matter how hurt I was. It didn't matter if I cried. It didn't matter if I was angry. It didn't matter if I wanted to scream and kick something. He showed me that a father's love is not only going to get me through this, but it's also going to strengthen me as I go. So he would say, I don't care if you want to punch the table. I don't care if you need a hug. I don't care if you want to sit here and talk to me until the morning comes. I will sit here with you like I promised. And he showed me that love that's just never ending, and that it teaches men and young men and young women that if I'm your father, if I'm going to say I love you, not only am I going to be strong for you physically as a protector, but I'm going to be strong for you emotionally. And whatever you go through, whatever you need to handle, whatever support you need, I will put all of that on me. I will take all the weight that you need to get off your chest and your shoulders, and I will put that on myself, and I will carry that for you as long as it takes, because that's what my strength is here for as a father. And my dad showed me over and over and over again how that plays out and how that can help me when I was a growing young man.
I really appreciate you courageously sharing all of that with us here and for any people in the future. That is a very powerful story.
No, I don't think I've ever actually shared that one. I've shared that one with a few people very quietly. Because most of the time, I'll be honest, that is not a story I make it through before I lose it myself. Um,
Well done.
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're
But
welcome.
going through those hardships, going through these things, I had many other things that I went through. Just talking about overcoming adversity. I think I lost far too many friends when I was growing up, which is something a young person should not do. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of people. I lost people due to suicide, unfortunately, due to murder, um, due to accidents, things like that. And again, every single time, my father led the way by saying, "If you, I don't know who this is, but if you want me to be there, I'll sit there. I'll be with you. I'll hold you if you need me to." And every time I lost somebody, I remember losing a young man who was like a brother to me. He stayed with us. He was over here for school. He was going to the School of the Arts, which is a college in North Carolina. He was from Seoul, Korea. His English wasn't fantastic, but my family took him in like he was one of our own. And towards Christmas one year, he became incredibly sick, and he spent Christmas and New Year's in the hospital because he was diagnosed with cancer, and it was all the way down to his bones, and he didn't have much longer to make it. And my father would take me out and whatever friends that were there, and we go sit in our backyard and we talk about it. We talk about how hard it is, and he'd say, "Look, I can't stop what's going to happen. I can't stop the fact that he's going to die. But I can tell you when that happens, it's going to hurt. It is going to hurt like hell. It is going to be one of the hardest things because you are too young to do this. I've done this many times, but you are too young to go through this. So when it happens, I will sit out here with you every single night. I will do whatever I can to help you get through this, but it's going to be hard and you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight to get over this." And right after the new year, after I spent nights in the hospital with him so he wouldn't be alone, his parents came and took him back. And a few months later, we got the message that he had passed. I had built myself a room in my parents' basement because I was 16 at the time. And I remember tearing the walls down with my fists. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know the world could hurt that bad. And sitting there in a pile of essentially rubble and sheetrock, my father came and picked me up and said, "Let's go." And we went and sat in the backyard, and I cried and I screamed, and I was mad at God. I was mad at the world. I was mad at his parents for taking it away from me. And day after day, week after week, month after month, my father helped me get through it. He showed me how to become stronger. He showed me how to handle those emotions. He took his love and he grabbed me by the shoulders again and he said, "I'm going to help show you how to get through this." And that is what I have modeled myself as a father by his example, by his lead. That's the model I've taken. Is every single time my daughter experiences something, not only am I going to hug her and hold her, but I'm going to show her how to get through it, and I'm going to tell her it's going to hurt, but I'm never going to stop being here for you, and I'm going to lead you out of this. And my daughter is only 6 years old, so thank God traumatic has happened. But there's been little pains and little tantrums and little things like that. And like my father did, my father never talked down to me like I was too young to understand something. My father, and this is the other thing that I wanted to try and talk about in the topic of, is he led by example. He spoke to me and he held me and he showed me the way as if I was already a grown man from a young age. He showed me that if you are going to be strong, if you're going to understand the world, you have to understand that it's going to be hard, and you're going to learn lessons, and you're going to have to go through fights and adversities and hardships, but let me show you how to go through those. And that's what I've done for my daughter because of what my father showed me and his father did for him, and now I do because of what he taught me. And this is what I want to be, and this is what I would like to see as a model for all fathers out there, is not only love your children, but take them by the hand in a strong fatherly embrace and say, not only is it going to be okay, but I'm going to walk you through this hand in hand as long as it takes.
It's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And thank you for your dad. I don't know if he's still with us,
He
but
is.
so our
Better not go
gratitude.
anywhere anytime soon.
You're like, I'm not ready.
No, it's not gonna happen. I will go and get my doctorate if I have to and treat it myself.
That's beautiful. Calvin,
But
my friend, I feel like you have something to say. Do you have something to say, Calvin?
I just encouraged with the the example that you have in your dad, Brian. I think that is such a beautiful, wonderful opportunity with what happened to you in your life. Because I wouldn't want that for anyone, and I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want that for anyone. But how your dad stepped up and showed you the path of what it means to step in, stand in, and be that support system. That's just it's a beautiful picture that you just painted and shared, and
thank you.
that is that's what's been missing. I think I shared earlier before that in our nation, in the United States, in the '80s, that we started getting caricatures of men and fatherhood of being buffoons or not smart or not being intuitive or
Absolutely.
not, and it has gone downhill from there. And to be able to hear that and express that needs to be shared more. And I'm grateful that you are sharing that.
Not sure where our music was coming from. No,
I was
Calvin,
like, is it Calvin? Is it Brian?
no, Calvin, I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you for the kind words. And one thing I want to say, well, you kind of brought something up for me. These caricatures that our media and TV and all this stuff is painted of us, like you said, is perfect example is we're buffoons. We open up the fridge, and even if though the ketchup bottle is right there, we're like, hey, where'd you leave the ketchup? And we have to go to our wives to ask for it. And our kids are like, oh, dad. And then the laugh track comes on. You know, we as fathers, I think, I just became a father recently 6 years ago, but over the decades, over the past several decades, we have, I think, in my opinion, men have allowed it to happen. We have allowed people to laugh at us and tell us that we're not that great and we don't really do as much. And something that really bothers me is we have been called babysitters when it comes to our children. Oh, you're giving mom a break is what I have personally had thousands of men tell me that they've been called a babysitter, or it's cute that you're giving mom a break, or oh, a little vacation for mom, things like that. And instead of saying no disrespect, but don't ever refer to me as that again. I am a father. And this actually happened to me one day in a checkout line at can't remember where I was. I think it was a Walmart, but I was getting groceries, and I'm holding my daughter's hand, and her hair is braided in little pigtail braids. And the lady at the checkout line is going, oh, your hair is so cute. Oh, did your mommy do that for you? And my daughter will not hesitate to put you in your place. My daughter said, no, my daddy did it, or my daddy did it. And she's like, oh, okay. And I kind of looked at her like, that's right, I did. And then she keeps on going. And so she tries to, and I don't think she meant harm. I'm not going to say anything bad about this woman, but she tried to change the subject and she said, oh, so you taking your daughter out for a break, giving mom a break, you babysitting for the day? And unfortunately, I am very scary and intimidating just to begin with because of how I look. I'm not exactly like a nice, friendly looking person. But I looked at her and I said, don't ever call me a babysitter again. Don't you dare call a father a babysitter. That is my child. I am with her every day. I do not ever take a break from being her father. Do you understand? And she kind of stepped back. I am so sorry. I said, I'm not trying to be mean, but don't ever call a father a babysitter again. And I think we have allowed this. We have laughed it off and kind of gone, yeah, mom's getting her toes done, so I'm taking care of the kid for a minute. That's not your job. We are not babysitters. We are not little helpers. And we have allowed this to happen, I think. And instead of stepping up and showing the world that we are just as important, that we are just as much a part of our kids' lives, we have let other fathers slack off and not called them on it. We have allowed other people to step in and say things about us without correcting it. If you this is one thing I think that men can actually take away from a lot of mothers. If you were to insult a mother about her being a mom, I don't think there's a mom that wouldn't have a out loud social media clip movement of how dare you, but fathers won't do that. And I think that's something that we can actually learn from it is mothers are very, very strong when it comes to how proud they are to be a mom, and they're not going to let you take that away from them. And I think that's something that we need to do more of as men and as fathers is stand up and say, absolutely not. I'm not going to tolerate that. I'd love to share, if I can, if I have a little bit of time, a personal example of how you can do that, how you can show the world how impactful you are as a father, but you don't have to do it disrespectfully. You don't have to make the world fear you or go, oh, well, he's probably abusive if he's that loud. I'd like to share an example of how to lead by example in terms of showing the world just how amazing fathers can be. I was with my daughter taking her to school during the COVID years. My daughter was, I think, 3 or 4, maybe it just turned 4. No, she was 3. And we were going to school, and there's a long line. There's a long corridor that you have to go in, and you have to get in line, and you have to wait to check in. I have been going there for 6, 8 months. There would be, 15, 20 women in line waiting to drop off their kids. I would be most of the time the only dad. And all of them would be talking to each other, having a great time, laughing and sharing stories. And the second I got in line, it was quiet. And for some reason, I don't know, and maybe this is just funny to me, but a lot of people think big guys don't hear so well because they will whisper very loudly and think that I can't hear it. And I would hear all the whispers. I would hear all of these, and again, nothing bad on these women. I'm not trying to hurt or insult, but some of these women would say, the mom must have been busy this morning and he finally decided he was going to help, things like that. And I held my tongue. I'm not going to make a scene at my daughter's school. And that went on for months and months and months. Nobody would talk to me. That might have been because of the way I look. Like I said, I'm a big guy, a little bit intimidating, but nobody would talk to me. I'd get to the front and the woman who's checking the kids in would have a short little conversation with every woman leading up. And then I would get there and she'd go, name. I'm like, I have to change something here. I'm already big and intimidating. I can't intimidate further by being loud. I have to show these women and these people at the school that I'm a good dad, that I'm not scary. And it hit me one morning. We're going to school, and on the way there, my daughter, who just absolutely was at that phase, and she still is in that phase where she sees dad and she runs. And I said, hey, kiddo, I missed you so much yesterday. I'm going to miss you so much today. So when I pick you up, can you run and give me a hug so big that it knocks me over? And she's like, yeah, daddy, yeah. So I come back at the end of the day. I go to pick her up, and there she is at the end of the hallway, and she starts running. And I squat down, and I've got my arms out. And I said, "Give me that hug, kiddo." And she runs. My daughter's like 25 pounds at this point. I'm 300 plus. My daughter hits me, and I pretend like it's the hardest thing in the world, and I fall over backwards, and I land on the ground, and I roll around, and I'm hugging her. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's the biggest hug ever. And I go to get up, and she tackles me again. And I pretend like it knocks me over, and we get back up, and we do this 3 or 4 times. And I can hear behind me the 15, 20 women waiting in line are oohing and eyeing. Oh my God, what a great dad. Oh my God, look at how sweet they are together. Oh my God, I see him in here all the time. I decided that instead of letting people judge me based on how I look, I was going to let them judge me by my actions as a father. From there, showing them that I'm not this big scary guy. I'm actually a big teddy bear when it comes to my child. I'm a very friendly person. Everything changed. The women at the school would talk to me and have conversations with me. I'd get in line, and the women in line and everybody else would have conversations with me. And from there, I kind of continued that energy of, I'm going to show the world how good of a dad I am, but I have to keep going at this school. So one day, going to the playground where there's 3 or 4 classrooms all on this gigantic playground. There's like 60 kids out there. There's 10 different, school associates out there. I went up to my daughter and I said, "Hey kiddo, I want to play a game with you. I'm going to call it Roar." She ended up calling it Monster, but I called it Roar. I said, go hide. And when I find you, I'm going to go roar. And then you have to try and escape before I get you and tickle you. And she would run up to the top of the playgrounds, and she would be hiding with the other kids. And she'd be like, "My dad's coming. Everybody hide." The kids involved, just being a kid. And I'd come up and I'd jump up and I'd roar. A bunch of kids would run. And it started out with 3 kids participating. Then it was 13 kids participating. Then it was all the different, after about 3 months, it was 50 or 60 kids were participating. And it was now called Monster. And then it was, "Madeline's daddy is here." And the kids would run. And the people that worked at the school were saying to me, they would have conversations with me, and they're like, "Do you know how much we love when you come here?" All the kids' attitudes change. All the parents are like, let them play. This guy is awesome. And then the teachers would get a break, the school associates would get a break. And every time I come, they would start to go, "He's here." And I got the chance to change everybody's opinion of me as a father by leading by example of who I am inside here and what I am in here, not by what this looks like. If in my experience, like I've just shared with you, leading into how to lead by example, if we just tell somebody we're good enough, it's very hard to believe. We live in a world where everybody will say what they want, but not follow it up with their actions. Same thing goes for your marriage, your work life, everything. So if I, as a father, want to change the minds of everyone around me, if I want to come at this from a standpoint of how do I change people's minds, we actually have to stand up as fathers and do the work. We have to lead by example in saying, you can think whatever you want about me, but judge me by my actions. Judge me by who I am as what you see, not what you think. And I have managed to do that over and over again in every place I've gone. I have done that in her gymnastics class, in her ballet class. I fear nobody's judgment. You can think whatever you want about me. My purpose on this earth is for my wife and for my daughter to be a man that they can be proud of, to be a man that they can look for in terms of physical support or emotional support, mental support, whatever it might be. I have to lead by example. If my mark on this earth, I want it to be that when I am gone from this world, if my wife and my daughter and people that know me are still here, they are going to say, "That man never once let down his family. And he showed others along the way and he led by example of what a good father is." So if I'm going to do that, that means every day I do that. That means where I go, I am an ambassador for my family. I am a leader in my home and in my life, but it also applies to everywhere I go. So if I'm going to be this person that they want to be proud of, it means that even when my daughter and my wife aren't with me, what I do matters. Because sooner or later, somebody's going to see me with my child and go, "Oh my God, you're a dad too? We didn't know that about you. Now we get to see you interact with your child." And that's what, in my opinion, I believe as fathers we need to do. We need to stand up and lead by example. We need to have our actions. The old saying goes, actions speak louder than words. And fathers, if we are not going to lead by our actions, we are going to fail by just our words alone.
It's true. It's a very powerful thing to say and to be and to live by. So, Brian, thank you so much for sharing all those really powerful examples and for being
I'm
an
very happy to
excellent
be here and share that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I want to honor the time. We do have 4 minutes left before our next speaker, Adam, joins us. So if there's any questions, comments that you would like to bring forth, last minute bits of wisdom, Brian, please feel free, gentlemen, to unmute yourselves and come forward.
I just wanted to really thank you, Brian, for sharing your experience with your dad and how he was with you during that rough time.
Thank you.
And it really helped me understand what love really is. Because from my experience, I've just learned love was just something you say. So seeing it in action, it's hard for me to accept. I've been married for over 20 something years, and I still, a lot of times, feel like my wife doesn't love me, not because she doesn't show, but because I don't know what it is, and it could be right in front of me and very, very confusing. And I look to Christianity, and a lot of the Bible talks about the Father's love and all these things, and even that was hard for me to connect. So for you to share your story and your commitment to your wife and your daughter, and to men in general, fathers, like really helped me understand what love really is. And I really, really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much, Manny. I appreciate that. Love is just one of those things, in my opinion. We all love differently, but a lot of the times we miss the small things. We miss the time where that one time your father put his arms on you and said, "Hey, kiddo, I'm here for you if you need anything." We all have different ways of saying it. My wife does it all the time. She will walk up behind me. I'll be making food in the kitchen or something like that. My wife will walk up behind me and I'll feel her arms wrap around me and squeeze, and I'll just put my hands on hers and I'll just sit there and I'll close my eyes. Just that 5-10 seconds, that was her saying, "I don't have to do anything big, but I'm going to show you that I love you." And I just wanted to hold you for a minute. We miss those little cues sometimes. People don't make big grand gestures every single day. But if you're my friend and we're hanging out and we're having dinner together, or we're at a barbecue or something like that, and I come up and I put my hand on your shoulder and I said, "Hey man, tell me how you're doing." That's me giving you a chance to unload and say whatever you want, and me literally just saying, "I'm here for you. Let me know what I can do." I would say to you, don't miss the little signs that your family does for you, that your wife does for you.
Thank you so much, Manny, for courageously sharing that, and also Brian for showing up. Adam, my friend, you're welcome.